We've got a full shed now. Yesterday we were getting some storms and we had a little bit of hay cut, and we decided to just bale it up as fast as we could. And so we put it into small squares, filled 2 wagons, and got it inside. And now it smells just wonderful inside this shed. Good morning and welcome back to Highland Spring Farm. It's been a hot one this week, and luckily we were able to get some hay baled last night before the storms came. We put about 220 bales into small squares and put those up, and they're sitting on 2 wagons in the shed right now. I'm off to an equipment auction. There's a dealer about 45 minutes away that does an auction every month, and I'm looking for a bale wrapper. So we like to wrap bales in plastic. That helps keep all the oxygen out, helps them ferment and make them a little bit more palatable to the cattle over the winter, and it also reduces our drying time, so we don't have to worry quite so much about the weather and can harvest the hay right at the right time, rather than having to wait for it to get that 5 days or so of dry weather so that we can bale it. So I'm off to do that, and then we'll be cutting some hay later this afternoon. We're going to put pretty much every field we have down today because we have a stretch of 6 days, and that should give us plenty of time to get everything dried and baled. It's a lot of equipment at this sale. Unfortunately, none of it was in our price range. The bale wrappers that we were looking for were just a little bit too expensive or in too poor of condition for what we needed. So we'll try to figure something else out this year. Hopefully we'll have good weather to be able to keep everything dry and just put up dry hay. But we'll definitely keep looking for a bale wrapper. Well, after I got home, we had a problem with the air conditioning unit, and so we are coming out to the John Deere dealership to get a part, and hopefully it's just a fuse to fix that. Got the part back in that tractor. Air conditioning is working great, and we're back to cutting. While Anna's out mowing some hay, I'm going to hop on the tractor here and do a little bit of planting. We've got 12 rows today to plant of our sweet corn, and this old Case IH planter from the early 80s will be the machine that we'll use to plant those. We've been growing sweet corn for nearly 60 years. And so we've been using this machine probably for the last 30 or so, and it works great. here to plant October. We've got a couple cows on the summer pasture because they are expecting to calve here any day, and sure enough, Lucky just had a nice brand new bull. So he seems to be doing just fine, and she's taking good care of him. So it's a beautiful day to be born out on pasture. Good job. He's up and moving, which is always a good sign. She's a pretty good mom, so I'm sure he'll be nursing if he hasn't already. We have just one cow left, and Ember should be calving here any moment. Her udder is really nice and full, and I would expect that she'll be calving, if not tonight, by tomorrow. Checking out a couple of the other ones too. Got all that planting done. We're still cutting hay, and so we're going to keep doing that about as long as we can tonight. Just one thing to note, if you're liking these videos, hit the subscribe button so you get the notification when a new one drops. We try to put out a new video weekly. We are off to finish up the last field that we didn't get to last night. It's about a 10-15 acre field, so not too bad. It shouldn't take too long to get all wrapped up. This is the first time we've cut all 4 fields at the same time, and so that's a little bit stressful, just hoping that the weather stays for us. But the weather forecast looks good for the next 6 or 7 days, so I think we'll be just fine. Shaped fields that we have. It's a neighbor, and it was a field that was neglected for quite a few years. I don't know how often they took hay cuttings off of it, but I think when we kind of took over, it hadn't been hayed for at least a few years, and so there are quite a few weeds in here. Brush was starting to grow up in the field. It just wasn't really a very productive field, and so we took the task of revitalizing it, and so one of the things that we did first was just interseeded some clover and some alfalfa to help improve the nitrogen in those nitrogen producing plants. After we planted that clover and the alfalfa in here at just a real low seeding rate, we had them do a prairie burn. There was so much stuff that was growing in here, some grasses, some weeds, just a lot of crazy stuff. And there's a neighbor down the road that does a ton of prairie burns, and so we had a good thatch on about 2/3 of the field, and so we had them come and burn it. And then immediately after we no-tilled in a nice pasture. Coyote out there. He just is running around, probably digging up all the mice that come up when we start cutting hay. The coyote's not the first wildlife that we've seen. When we do first cutting, oftentimes we see some baby fawns, and that's, depending on how early we do first cutting, that always can be a little bit tricky.